The PPSH-41s were noted for their high rate of fire. You'll notice the device that the Germans snuck up and put on the tank is actually, it's a magnetic mine, similar to a limpet charge that were used on ships. The Germans did have Panzer fists, which literally translates to tank fists. It's basically the predecessor of the RPG, but it was a one-time use. They also had Panzer Schrecks, which were bazookas, but those were in limited quantities early on, and especially in the Western Front. They were more of an Eastern Front around facing armored warfare. The Western Front was relatively quiet after 1940, until, of course, the invasion of Normandy. But these were used extensively. There were a number of other Allied designs, so that the British had something similar that was a sticky grenade. But they're basically just either mines or grenades that were designed to blow up tanks as well. So that if you didn't have an anti-tank, a dedicated anti-tank weapon, there were other ways to knock out tanks. There were a lot of improvised anti-tank devices that were used in the Western Front, Eastern Front, sorry. You can see what's supposed to be simulated mortar fire. Both sides are using bolt-action rifles. So the Russians have Mosin-Nagant rifles, and there are a number of variations of these, from the original 1890 full-length rifles to carbines that were produced throughout the 30s and even in the 1940s. But they're still the same Mosin-Nagant bolt-action rifle, essentially. The Germans are using either Kar-98s or would have been, by this point, essentially even Gewehr 43s, so they may have had some semi-auto weapons. The Russians also had an SVT-40, which was a semi-auto weapon, but by and large, bolt-action rifles were still the main standard for both of these armies. The NCOs and officers would have been armed with either MP-40s on the German side or, again, PPSHs on the Russian side. But there were a lot of other variants out there. There was a lot of German equipment that was either captured or left over from the 1930s, MP-28s, Irmas, various other types of machine guns. And the Russians, again, were also getting Lend-Lease equipment from the U.S. and British, so they might have had Thompsons and even Sten guns, but not in large quantities because the ammunition was not shipped. It was shipped, but not as largely available as the, of course, Russian-produced ammunition. But it is to say that both sides were using a lot of capture equipment or even Lend-Lease equipment obtained from their allies. Again, once the Germans realized that they were on the front foot in the east, there were a lot of defensive positions like this constructed all the way to Germany. And again, consequently resulted in not necessarily stagnant warfare, but a lot of defensive warfare on the Eastern Front than you will see in the Western Front. Once the Americans and British landed at Normandy, it took them a relatively short amount of time to get to Paris and liberate Paris, and that's because of the much more mobile nature of the Western Front. It's not necessarily, though, due to any great feat by American engineering. The Russians certainly had actually more troops in the field, but there were more on the Eastern Front than on the Western Front. Germany actually At least through 1942 and 1943, Germany actually dedicated the majority of its forces to the Eastern Front. There was fighting going on in North Africa and as well in Italy and Sicily, but the majority of the German divisions were, like I say, concentrated not on the Eastern Front, but had no one to fight.